Hello everyone, I'm Colin Canet. You know, it might surprise you to know that when you're setting up a machine to cut wood, sometimes the most accurate way is not with one of these, and not even with one of these. Sometimes the most accurate way of setting up a machine is with something like this. Now, this is called a 1, 2, 3 block, and you can buy these commercially. I don't own one, but I made this up just so that you can see what it looks like. So it's 1 inch thick, it's 2 inches wide, and 3 inches long, and that's why it's called a 1, 2, 3 block. And the purpose of that is these are extremely accurate, so when you're setting up a machine, you don't measure it, you just set the blade up or the bit up to something like this. Now, I seldom use 3 or 1, so today I'm going to make a custom 1, 2, 3 block for the cuts that I use most often. So stick around and let me show you what we do. So very quickly, here's the way a 1, 2, 3 block works. For example, if I wanted to cut something that's 2 inches wide, basically you use the 2-inch side and you move your fence and ease that up so that it just barely grazes the tooth. And that will give you a 2-inch width. If it was 3, of course you would do it that way, and a 1 inch would be that way, and you would move the fence up to that. So that's how they work. What I don't like about all of these, they are all made out of precision steel. And as you know, steel and carbide do not mix. So if you do have one of these and you're using it and it's working great for you, don't change because of anything I say or do. Continue to use it. But when you're using it around a carbide blade, make sure you're not bumping the carbide, because even a small bump of steel against the side of a carbide tooth can jeopardize or chip that tooth. And once the tooth is chipped on a table saw blade, you never want to use that blade again, because you never know if another tooth or if the same tooth has been compromised, and when you turn it on, it's going to throw carbide back at you, often back into your face. So just be careful of that. Now, what are we going to do with this? So before I get started cutting the wood, I want to make sure that this maple is as dry as I can get it. And in this case, it's been sitting in my shop for a number of years. It should be very dry, but we typically want it around 9%. So I'm just going to check that. And it's 9.6, 9.7. That's ideal. That makes sure that that wood is as stable as we can get it. Now I'm at my jointer with my piece of wood here, and the first thing I need to do is make sure I've got an absolutely flat on 2 sides and 90 degrees. So I'm just going to run that through. So here's the numbers that I use, and it didn't take me very long to figure this out. The first block I'm going to make is a 3/4 by 1 1/4 by 2, and the second one is going to be a 3/4 by 2 by 4. Those measurements I use repeatedly, and a block that has these numbers is going to be far more valuable than a 1, 2, 3 block. So for me to get started, I've already taken that hard, dry maple that I just took a measurement of, and off camera I cut it in half, and it's roughly 4 inches wide and about a foot long. But I planed it down to 3/4 of an inch. So these are done. So the next thing I need to do is cut a 2-inch strip and a 1 1/4 inch strip, and as it turns out, I only need one of these to do that. So I'll take this and I'm going to measure this now to 2 inches. But before I make that cut, I'm actually going to make a test cut to make sure that I'm right on 2 inches. Okay, so that cut is good. That is precisely on the 2 inches, so that's good. Now I've just reset for the 1 1/4 inch strip, and I'm going to do a test cut on this as well. Now that was my ripping blade, and that's because I'm ripping with the grain of the wood. The next thing I'm going to do is take this blade out and put in my cross-cut blade, the 90 tooth, and it makes a very, very fine cut. So that's the reason I want to put that in. Now that I have my crosscut blade installed and it's set at the correct height, about 1/2 tooth above the material, I want to double check that my miter gauge is true and accurate, and we do that by aligning with the slot, the miter slot in the table fence. We never align the blade to the miter gauge, always the miter slot. And I'm just going to check that, and that's perfect all the way along. So just to quickly review, I have the 3/4, I now have the 2. The next thing I'm going to cut is the 4. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to use the first block that I made as a stopper, and I'm going to attach that to the fence here, and I'll just measure out the 4 inches from here. That looks there. And then I can move that back to about here, and I can make, now the first cut I'm going to make, I'm going to just trim the end off to make sure it's square, and then I'll do the final cut. Okay, I'm not quite finished yet. I'm going to put a little hole in the back that I can put a little magnet in. There we go, there's the little hole, and there's the magnet, and I'm just going to use some CA glue and some activator and lock that in there. Okay, let's have a quick review of these 2 blocks that I made. 2 sets, one for my router table, one for my table saw. The magnets on the back are for attaching to the side of the tool, so I always know where these are. Some people are going to say, why on earth would you use 1 1/4? Well, that's a very simple answer to that, and a great question. And that is that very often when I'm making furniture, the legs for the furniture, I have only one option, and that is 3/4 inch material. And when you glue that together, when you align the grains, you end up with 1 1/2 inch. But by the time you plane that down and sand it, you end up down around 1 1/4, which actually happens to be a very common size in legs for furniture. The 2 inch I use on doors, and the 4 inch is very often what I use for the aprons of various tables that I might be making. So that's the reason for all of that. Some people are going to say it's not very stable or not very good because they're made out of wood and the wood moves, and that's true, except that in this case I used 9% very, very dry wood, and the amount of movement that you would get in something like this, these tiny little blocks, is minuscule. Wood always moves, you'll always get some movement, but something this small, it's really going to be inconsequential to any kind of a build. So a great way of quickly measuring and knowing exactly what you're getting, and you can make as many of these in different sizes as you can use. Well, that concludes my video for today, how to make custom 1, 2, 3 blocks. And you know, once you make these and start using them, you'll wish that you've been using these things for years, because they're so quick and they're so accurate for so many different things. And depending on the kind of woodworking that you do, you can set them up for exactly what it is that you do. I made another video a few months ago on different kinds of tips and tricks on measuring. That video will show up here. If you've already seen it, you may want to have a quick review of it. If you haven't seen it, there's maybe some ideas there that sort of go along with the marking measuring that I always seem to be coming back to, because that's part of the accuracy in woodworking. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.